Welcome to episode 151 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe co-created by Bruce Timm. I am Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And we're back this week with some more Static Shock. We're talking the Usual Suspect and Showtime.
The Unusual Suspect.
Is it the Unusual Suspect?
I'm pretty sure it's the Unusual Suspect.
Maybe I should read more. No, it's the usual. It's the Usual Suspect.
Well, it was unusual to me.
Oh, so we'll be talking that, plus our usual bat plugs and everything. But first off, a little bit of entertainment news. So we mentioned it last week, but HBO Max has launched. I refuse to pay for it. Cameron, you're a better person than I am.
That's totally fair. No, I also did not pay for it. If you have, it's a very messed up and confusing system because HBO still doesn't know what they're doing.
Agreed.
So basically, if you have HBO Go, then you get it for free.
Right. So essentially, if you're already paying for an existing like cable-based HBO login, so if you have like cable or dish, and that means you have HBO Go, like you're getting it through a cable provider, then you get it for free.
Correct. But if you have HBO Now, which is a completely separate thing, you don't get it for free.
No.
But you get a discount.
Oh, okay. I don't know about the discount. All I know is that now the HBO Now app apparently has just been replaced by the HBO Max app, and you don't realize until after you've already logged in that you are in fact able to use your HBO Now login for your on the HBO Max app.
Oh, good.
I had this exact struggle this week because I could not find the HBO Now app, download HBO Max, and this is how I eventually found out. No, it's a total mess. But like the specific thing I was curious about, and I think a lot of people are, especially listening to this podcast, is like, is this a worthwhile thing if you're a DC fan? And the consensus seems to be no.
No, absolutely. They have, I'm going to say, a third of the content that DC Universe has. And yeah. I know there's definitely like a struggle between the two of like, how do we have one and the other at the same time? I think it's kind of a mess right now. They don't have any of the DCAU on there. Of the shows that I've been that have been pushed onto me so far, the original Teen Titans is what I've seen most, which is great. But I think
that's also on DC Universe, right?
Yeah. Everything that's on HBO Max is also on DC Universe.
Okay.
And even for the original shows, like the DC Universe originals, only Doom Patrol has made its way onto HBO Max.
Okay.
So if you were only getting the program, or if you're only getting the subscription box for DC stuff, pay for DC Universe. It's half the price. Yeah,
and way more content.
Yeah,
and I hope DC Universe continues on. I mean, it's unsurprisingly we're big fans of it because it means we get to watch Static Shock. Mm-hmm. Very critical for the podcast, and also because it's a great show. But I mean, it's a damn good app at the end of the day.
Yeah,
like
minus the one problem that we have because we share an account.
Yes.
Of it never will start the episode over for you, even if you finish it.
Yeah, that one element is particularly irksome. Like that particular glitch is frustrating.
How dare we return to the times of Be Kind Rewind?
Ugh. Hey, if you're having to like rewind through an hour-long episode of Titans, it's a rough go.
It's a single click, Chris. You just click at the beginning of the timeline.
But I watch it on my TV, not on my computer.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is
so
a problem.
I can't just do that, and then I'm having to like not look at the screen in case something's spoiled for me. But let's be honest, nothing be spoiled for me because Titans. I wonder
if you'd have
show.
a better experience just watching that show in reverse.
You might actually. It might make more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, all those characters are as big of assholes at the end of the episode than at the beginning, so really, what direction does it matter?
That's very true. It's the sitcom format for a shitty action series.
Like, it makes sense that Doom Patrol will be the one they move over to HBO Max because of their live action stuff. It's the best. I still think the Harley Quinn animated series is their best.
Have you watched any of Stargirl yet?
No, I haven't.
Neither have I.
I've heard pretty good things so far, though. Plus, it's got like the full JSA, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
I like those characters on there, so I should maybe check it out at some point. But Yeah, I mean, I didn't get HBO Max. I'm probably not going to, although I know eventually I'm gonna have to watch the Snyder Cut, which means I'll have to subscribe in some capacity eventually.
I mean, or you can just use my account again.
I think I'll just probably end up using your account. Yeah,
that's totally fine.
Because I think that's something you and I should probably watch together, so we can actually hold each other accountable.
Wait, it's going to be a full event. I want to rent out a theater for this experience.
You have to watch in a theater the way it was originally intended.
Yeah.
Just creator
inviting
himself,
all
Snyder.
These like over obnoxious fanboys in with us.
God.
What was it? Was it when we saw Bat v Superman? There were two guys in front of us that were doing something.
I don't remember.
Because I remember you like leaned into them. You're like, shut up.
I think when they like I feel like they were adding commentary and everything. It wasn't like a lot of like, oh, like anytime someone like threw a punch.
That sounds right.
I don't remember. It was brotastic. And I mean, also, we only have so much room to judge considering we're the assholes, like count the number of times they say family. I was going to say,
like, we are those people in Fast and Furious. 7. They said family 7 times.
Oh, God damn it. I actually do love the idea of like someone renting out a theater and then like offering to screen the Zack Snyder cut for free.
Oh, I'm sure someone will do it.
You could charge tickets, but then once everyone gets there, you just put on the theatrical cut anyways.
Yeah. See, like if fanboys notice any change. This version was definitely better. They definitely treated the Flash with more respect in this version.
Why is there dark side in this? Oh, God damn it. Yeah, we'll eventually cross that asinine bridge when it happens. But like, you've been checking out some other stuff. Is there anything worthwhile on HBO Max?
If you have little kids, yes.
Okay.
Because I think,
or if you are a little kid,
physically or mentally, because weirdly enough, I think there's very, very few new shows.
Okay.
I feel like the HBO Max having a very lukewarm launch because of how little new content they had. They were really much riding on the back of Friends and Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I think there's their big thing.
For the new content, there's 3 shows. Weird enough, I think the best one is Late Night with Elmo.
Really? Is that good?
It's very cute. I sent my login info to my stepbrother just so my niece and nephew can watch that show.
Yeah.
It's very cute. And then they have a new Looney Tunes series, which just it's almost there. It's like 90% Looney Tunes. And I can't figure out what that 10% is that they're missing.
I mean, so I haven't watched it yet. I think I saw like the trailer for it. Is it just it seems like the animation just feels maybe a little bit too modern. Is that it? Like
it's not even like
the animation's a little generic or the writing's a little generic.
It's like you see them trying, like you can like feel the gears turning as you're watching the episode.
Okay.
And they're like, they have a couple good gags in there, and I can't remember anything off the top of my head, but it is very much in the setup of the old Looney Tunes style, where it's
okay.
The first episode is 2 kind of 10-minute shorts. The first one is a Daffy and Porky adventure,
okay,
which I don't think I've ever seen those 2 team up before.
Oh yeah.
And the second is a Bug story.
Okay.
It's Bugs having an arm wrestling match with Yosemite Sam.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It is very cute, and there's like, it has some of that slapstick, and there's like a lot of dynamite and like anvils falling. But I just can't figure out what is missing.
I mean, it might be just a lightning in a bottle situation.
Yeah.
Like, the originals were so good because they had such amazing talent behind it. The writing was so good. Obviously had Mel Blanc doing like every voice on there.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were built oftentimes around an actual piece of music, I think, was a big part of it too.
I think the music definitely is missing. Like there's an underscore, but I feel like it's not as like iconic.
Right. I mean, because as we've talked about before, like it's called Looney Tunes, TUNES, because they were all built around the Warner Music Library. And I think that, that at the end of the day, like creates a lot of creativity. Like you have to think like, oh, how can you reanimate something to this piece of music? And maybe that's part of it, is that this just feels like a facsimile, because it's, you know, such a diluted readaptation at this point that it's always going to feel a little bit hollow in comparison.
So here's my other question for you about, even though you haven't seen it yet. I feel like our generation there's a very small age gap between us, but there's still a large entertainment gap between us.
Yes.
I feel like our generation had such a unique slapstick / vaudevillian cartoon experience through the 90s and early 2000s, specifically with SpongeBob. I feel like SpongeBob is our generation's Looney Tunes.
I think there's something to be said for that. I've only seen like a handful of episodes of SpongeBob, because like when,
like I said, this age gap of 74 years between us.
Yes, as it's well established, I may only be 30, but spiritually I'm somewhere in my late 50s.
Yeah.
And when it came on, I found SpongeBob just a little on the annoying side, or I think maybe I just kind of like decided I would be annoyed by it, and so I didn't watch it. And subsequently, I've seen bits and pieces, and I can appreciate actually how clever it is. Actually, I think what finally made me realize the show is genius is the reason why it's called Bikini Bottom. Do you know why it's called Bikini Bottom?
No.
Because the Bikini, was it Bikini Atoll, the Bikini Islands is where they did the nuclear tests. So that's the reason, like everything's alive down there, is that it's all been changed by nuclear radiation. And that's me like, oh, okay, this show's actually like super clever. So
yeah, and I don't know if it's like, if there's like a writing staff thing, or like it's a similar writing staff between the two shows. But I was watching the first few episodes and I'm like, I feel like I would enjoy this more if this was the SpongeBob cast instead of the Looney Tunes cast. Like if I can see this being an episode of SpongeBob arm wrestling Larry, or Patrick arm wrestling Larry, and being the same story.
I think it also becomes one of those things where you're like, Looney Tunes would have been this huge defining part of animation comedy. And then everything that came after that would be heavily inspired by Looney Tunes and would like take and expand upon it. So then if you go back to redoing Looney Tunes, you then find yourself like having to do it in the model of the stuff that inspired it. You know, I think another example would be like, you know, the Star Trek 2009 reboot movie is basically Star Wars. Star Wars would, of course, been inspired by Star Trek, but it's like you eventually come back around, and now you are having to model yourself on the things you inspired, not the original things itself. Or like John Carter would be another example of that too, where it's like everything spun out from John Carter, and now you go back to do John Carter, and it just feels off because you've seen better versions of that stuff come from it instead.
Right. I think The Simpsons is another great reference to that.
Yeah.
Where you have the first 8 seasons people treasure as the masterpiece, because after that, you now had the kids that grew up on The Simpsons are now writing for it. And so now Homer has, now all the characters have become parodies of themselves. Yeah. Because their only reference point to writing Simpsons is Simpsons.
Simpsons, exactly. Yeah. So maybe that's just part of it, is that it feels like it would be a better SpongeBob show because the people who are writing on it were probably inspired by SpongeBob.
That's true. Yeah. That's
and I have nothing. I don't actually know the writing staff, but it's totally possible that's a reality. So I think that's part of the reason it's a little off.
And then the last new show that I've dabbled in so far is a show called Love Life. It's Anna Kendrick's new rom-com series.
Now you pointed this out to me, that she is now the face of every streaming platform. Do you actually know? Can you list off the top of your head every project from every new streaming platform?
So yeah, Anna Kendrick has this unique ability to be the opening day face of streaming platforms. On Disney Plus, she had Noelle, which was the Christmas comedy. Quibi, which is the platform no one has. She had a show called Dolls, where it was a comedy where she was jealous of her boyfriend's sex doll. And it was like sentient in her eyes.
Yeah.
It sounds like a funny premise. I am curious about that show. And then we have this one, which is Love Life, which is a kind of romance heavy rom-com series. It's written, I would say it's written pretty well. It feels pretty real to the point where like I couldn't watch part of the first episode because I'm like, fuck, this is like, I'm not in the right mental space for this kind of
it's a little
story
too close
right
to home
now.
emotionally right now.
Yeah. And then the next platform coming out would be Peacock, which is NBC Universal's app.
Yeah.
And I'm almost certain we're going to have some kind of Trolls opening day thing, which will of course star Anna Kendrick.
Yeah.
So yeah, has she become the Rock of streaming services?
I think so. I mean, I think she's just inherently likable and she is charming. I did do a Google search right now, just why is Anna Kendrick on every streaming platform? Unfortunately, I did not get a good article that explained why. I think she's just like, and I don't mean this to be an insult, though it kind of sounds this way. I think she's just super palatable.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's Hollywood's safest bet right now.
Yeah, and like I kind of get it. Like she's funny, she's fun, she's charming. Like she's very talented. Like she can handle like both like the drama and the comedy chops really really well. I mean,
what I just realized, Chris?
Good on her.
I think she is Zooey Deschanel 2.0.
Yes, but way less annoying.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is she's still just as quirky, but she's not obnoxious about it.
Yeah.
Or like Zooey Deschanel is quirky, she's the manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah.
Or she's quirky and oblivious to it all. And she's like, what, me? No, I just paint horse nails for a living. Like that's just my life. Where Anna Kendrick is like, she acknowledges that that's a thing she does, and also is like a little upset that that's a thing she does.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I love it, but I'm not happy about it.
I think Anna Kendrick's got a bit of a bite to her. Like she like, and I think that's part of the reason that she's so likable is that in the same way that The Rock for a long time was like embracing his like own stereotype, I feel like Anna Kendrick kind of does something similar.
Yeah.
They have worked together, haven't they? Anna Kendrick and The Rock?
I don't think so.
They must have. They must have.
I don't think they have.
I love how we're both looking this up right now because we need to know. We need to know if this is true. Maybe not.
They have not, because my mind immediately went to The Accountant, but that's Ben Affleck.
That's Ben Affleck, yeah. No,
yeah, they have not worked together.
That is genuinely surprising.
Yeah.
Give it time.
Oh yeah.
Give it time. It'll happen.
It's going to be the biggest movie ever.
But it's also going to be on streaming. It's
going
to be the biggest movie ever on streaming.
It'll on The Rock's private platform. Boulder TV.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
It's going to become the exclusive streaming platform for all the Fast and Furious movies.
Oh my God, that's a dream.
Could you imagine how pissed off Vin Diesel would be if The Rock had his own streaming platform and that's where Fast and the Furious was streamed?
Oh my God, that'd be the funniest thing ever.
I mean, actually, okay, if you think about it, if you were to like build a streaming platform around a single actor, he wouldn't be a bad shout. Because you'd get the Fast and the Furious movies. Even if you only had his, you're still getting number 5, which is the best. Mm-hmm. And Hobbs and Shaw, which was stupid fun. You would get The Mummy
Kings.
Returns and The Scorpion King, which are both kind of garbage but entertaining. You would get Smart, which I think is a really underappreciated comedy.
Oh my God,
love that movie.
I fucking love Get Smart.
That's a really funny movie.
Yeah, that movie's amazing.
You would get...
I always forget that he's in that.
He's in that. He's great in that.
Yeah.
Like that was like the beginning of that amazing era where he like started being billed as Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and he started to like play up his own profile in a way that was fantastic. So you'd get that. You would get a lot of the WWE, not something I'm interested in, but a lot of people would appreciate that.
Did The Rock ever do... Because there's like I feel like a tradition of Scooby-Doo teaming up with WWE stars.
Oh, did The Rock ever do a Scooby-Doo episode?
I don't think so.
I love that this has gone from being the news section to being Chris and Cameron look up projects starring Anna Kendrick and or The Rock.
I don't think he is in a Scooby-Doo episode.
It would have Moana.
What? Oh, it would have Moana. That's right.
It would have Moana. It would have Jumanji. I don't really give a shit about boulders, ballers, but it would have that. Okay, I think he wouldn't be a bad choice. I'd say outside of him, this might be slightly controversial. I also think I would watch a Tom Cruise streaming service.
Okay.
You get all the Mission Impossibles, which are pretty much all good. Some of them are great. You would get Edge of Tomorrow, which is a fantastic, fantastic movie. Minority Report, Jerry Maguire, Risky Business.
Yeah, but so if we're going off new platforms, would he do a TV series though? I don't think he would.
He might if it's his own platform. I mean, we're talking like the most ridiculous of hypotheticals.
So here's my pitch for you.
Okay.
Here's my pitch for you. Above The Rock, above Tom Cruise, because I think this is someone that has a great back catalog, but is also willing to do new content in kind of unique mediums.
So not Harrison Ford.
Not Harrison Ford. I will.
Who would be a good shout?
I will pitch to you Charlize Theron.
Ooh, yep, I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm 100% on board.
Mad Max.
Yep.
You get Fast and Furious.
One Fast and Furious. You get Eon Flux.
Atomic Blonde.
Oh, God, Atomic Blonde is amazing. You get The Italian Job.
You would get The Italian Job, yeah.
Just a fun ride.
Tully, which I think is still one of the most underrated films ever.
Which one?
Tully.
Oh, yeah.
The one where she's the mom with PTSD. Or with,
you get Tully. You get The Devil's Advocate.
A Million Ways to Die in the West.
I know she's done like a few like randomly TV things. Oh, she was in an episode of what's Seth MacFarlane's Star Trek show called? Am I blanking on it? Orville. I think she was in an episode of the Orville.
Oh yeah, I feel like they have a great relationship.
Yeah, because I think they're pretty good friends at this point.
Yeah, because you have to be if you do 100 Ways to Die in the West. A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Okay, I'm on board with you here. I would definitely sign up for the Charlize Theron streaming platform.
Yeah, I feel like she's connected enough where they could like actually get a lot of good stuff connected to it.
Because she's one of those actors that
the Kubo movie.
Oh God, Kubo's so beautiful. Like she actually does interesting choices. Like she will take a swing and do something that seems like it's more just for the fun of it. Like she'll do a quote unquote paycheck movie, but those movies are actually usually pretty fun anyways. Like she makes solid choices there. I would get the Snow White movies that I couldn't get
Snow White and the Huntsman.
All right, I'm on board. Now, it would be even better if someone can go ahead and create the Tom Cruise streaming site, the Rock streaming platform, the Charlize Theron streaming platform, and the Harrison Ford streaming platform, and then bundle them all together for us. That'd be amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there so there's the like the celebrity dating app? You've heard about Raya, right?
What?
There's a dating app called Raya.
What is that?
It's meant for like, like high profile singles.
Like you have to be verified on Instagram in order to have an account, sort of thing?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm imagining like that for a streaming platform.
Actually, wait, hang on. There might be a really genius business opportunity here. It's to create the Tinder of streaming platforms. So it goes through and it just keeps throwing up different show ideas, like different pieces of IP, and you keep swiping left or right. You do this for 5 minutes. At the end of the exercise, it tells you which streaming platform you should sign up for based on what you like.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was imagining an executive version of that just called Iger, where it's a bunch of it's just a bunch of businesses, and you just swipe right on the ones you want to buy.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Just automatically signs you up for whatever you say yes to.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I think there's definitely something there.
Oh, I know, man. We should give up podcasting.
Yeah, we should just be entrepreneurs.
I know. Get into the streaming game.
Shark Tank. Let's hit us up. Got ideas.
All right. I have one other piece of news I want to talk about because I saw this week, and it reminded me of you immediately. and it's a new movie coming to Disney Plus, and it's the Secret Society of Second Born Royals.
Yeah.
I brought this up to you before the
You
episode.
did.
You watched the trailer.
I did.
It is a movie where the second born in a bunch of different royal families, and only the second born, has superpowers. And so then they become superheroes to protect their respective kingdoms. But before they do that, they basically go to a Professor X style training school and then form a superhero team.
Yep, they do. And Chris, here's the thing. Like, I'm upset with you for just assuming that I was going to like this. And I'm more upset with myself for how excited I am for it. Because it is a over budget decom is what it is.
It is. It's very much in the line of what you said, like The Descendants meets Zoom, which was like the Tim Allen movie from a few years ago, of like the exact same premise. It is definitely like
it has B-list Zach Levi,
aka Skylar Aston.
Yeah.
Who I only know his name because you looked him up.
I did. Yeah. The guy from Pitch Perfect, if anyone needs a reference point.
Exactly. A sort of generically kind of handsome guy from Pitch Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks bad. Really bad.
And you're going to watch it.
But I'm going to watch the shit out of it. Because you know what, Chris? It's Disney Plus. You can bet your ass there's going to be a musical number in there.
Oh.
And you know what I want is a fucking musical number in a superhero film.
We haven't had that yet, have we?
We haven't. In my movie game, which I've mentioned to you before, I did have Sky High School Musical.
Yes, that's
which
right.
Which is something that I dream of.
So here, because you're right, we have yet to have a musical superhero movie.
That's not true. I apologize.
What did we get?
Dr. Horrible Sing-Along Blog.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that, yeah. But I'm talking like big budget. So here's my proposal. What we've been seeing with Marvel is that they are heading towards the point where they're leaning heavily into genre. Like that's now their way of differentiating themselves. Like they have the brand, they know they'll get butts in the seat. So now each film is kind of getting more and more into a specific genre, right? Mm-hmm. So, we're seeing like Ant-Man is sort of like these like heist comedies. Black Widow is definitely like the James Bond style thriller. Doctor Strange is going to be more of a horror film. So my proposal is that they just go full out and James Gunn makes Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 a full-on musical. Okay.
So
I don't care.
There is the mutant who, what's her name?
Dazzler,
who's a she's a pop singer.
Yes, yeah, because she turns sound into like energy blasts.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I'm on board. Okay, here's what we do. Mm-hmm. You're right. Instead of having it be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, when they do Deadpool 3, they bring in Dazzler and they make the whole movie a musical.
We know Ryan Reynolds can sing. He won the Korean version of Masked Singer, which I don't want to say because that was the first version. He won the Masked Singer original.
The original Masked Singer. Yeah, I'm on board. Man, look at us. We're just solving all of Hollywood's problems. For them.
We know who the villain has to be.
Who?
Jack Black.
Oh, yes. Wait, but playing who?
Himself. It doesn't matter. Literally anybody. It just has to be Jack Black.
I say Jack Black is MODOK.
Oh, that's good. That's good, yeah.
I know at one point Patton Oswalt was going to voice MODOK on an animated series, but I think that got scrapped. I mean, Patton Oswalt could probably sing, but I'm totally on board for Jack Black being the villain.
Or that's why the villain is a villain, because he can't sing.
Oh, there you go.
He's jealous.
Have you ever seen Undercover Brother?
I talked about it last night. I love Undercover Brother.
I love that movie too, but what you just described reminded me of like Chris Kattan. Like his whole motivation, like as the villain of the movie, is he can't dance, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Like he doesn't have groove or something like that. That is, guys, if you haven't seen Undercover Brother, that is a underappreciated comedy masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Like genuinely,
I've wanted that watch so badly since I first saw it. It's the premise is a black guy goes undercover as a white guy.
Yeah, but like not in like white chicks format.
Right.
Like
I was gonna say,
like,
I feel like this movie was lost because it was under the veil of white chicks.
Yeah, he like basically like just like code switches.
Yeah.
Like super heavily to like go undercover. And it has so many incredibly clever bits in there. It's not even worth mentioning them because I can't do them justice the way the movie does, but like legitimately, unironically, 100% recommend, if you have not seen it, go watch Undercover Brother. It is a masterpiece.
I agree.
Yes. Okay. All right. At this point, now that we've solved all of Hollywood's problems, should we move on to some Static Shock here?
I guess so. I mean, I feel like we just finished the episode.
I know. Why even continue at this point? We're giving up podcasting after this episode to go launch multiple streaming platforms catered to high-end celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But our first episode this week is The Usual Suspect, not The Unusual Suspect, not The Usual Suspects.
Yes.
Of course, named very famously from the quote. Cameron, do you know where the quote "The Usual Suspects" comes from?
I'm gonna assume, if I can just go out on a limb here, the movie The Usual Suspects.
So you're not entirely wrong, but the name of the movie The Usual Suspects comes from a line in another film. Do you know what that film is?
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I just learned that was written by Ian Fleming. I had no idea.
Yes, by horrible, sexist, racist, homophobic monster Ian Fleming.
Yeah, it was his birthday this week, as I saw.
Oh, was it? Oh,
it was.
I missed that entirely.
I mean, he's dead, so it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. No, and he's absolutely in hell.
Yeah, because it was like the headline was like celebrate James Bond creator's birthday, and like the subline was like creator of both James Bond and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And I'm like, what?
And Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Yes. Yeah, actually, so another tangent here. There's kind of a fun thing with him and Roald Dahl. So they actually had a lot of similarities. Like they both worked in like military espionage during World War II, and they both went on to become writers. So Roald Dahl, obviously famous for his children's books, including The Witches and the BFG and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
But so people don't know that he actually is, I think he's credited, but he may be an uncredited contributor to the screenplay for the James Bond film You Only Live Twice.
Well, that's awesome. What does he look like? I have a very specific idea in my head of what Roald Dahl would look like.
Because he would have to look weird, right?
It's like mixing a Dr. Seuss character with Salvador Dali is what I have in my head.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
And that is not what he looks like at all. He looks as generic as it can be.
But no, so the thing that oh yeah, he is rather generic looking, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like a who's the actor from Third Planet from the Sun?
Third Rock from the Sun?
Third Rock from the Sun.
John Lithgow?
Yes, he looks like a less attractive John Lithgow.
That's true. Yeah, John Lithgow would be a good shout to play him in a movie.
Yeah.
But no, there actually is another connection, which is that he also worked on the screenplay for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, that makes sense.
So he has a history of doing Ian Fleming adaptations. But no, so where the quote, "The Usual Suspects" comes from, is the full quote is Major Strasser's been shot. Round up the usual suspects. Now, Cameron, the fact that I'm being so emphatic about this would be a tip. I'm going to give you one last chance. Take a wild guess as to what movie that comes from.
Casablanca.
Yes. Casablanca, my favorite movie, is well documented, but also the movie from which the most quotes that you don't realize come from that movie come from.
Oh, that's good to know.
Like you could pull like the here's looking at you, kid, play it again, Sam, which is never actually a quote in the movie if we're being pedantic about it, which we must. You know, and you know, the problems of two people don't amount to a hill of beans in this world. Like, there's so many quotes in that movie. You go watch, you're like, oh my god, like this movie is referenced all the damn time. But yeah, that's where the quote comes from. It's Casablanca.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then that, I don't know if that was like the original inspiration for Christopher McQuarrie when he wrote The Usual Suspects, or if that's just, you know, he decided to include it because it made a good call. But yeah, that's where it comes from. But no, so in this episode, there's kind of like two major threads going on. So one is that a former student who went to juvie for a little bit, Marcus Reed, is back at Dakota High, and you know, is people assume, including Virgil and Richie, that he still has like anger management issues. And at the same time that he returns, there is this sort of like Mr. Hyde-esque monster that's running around town, breaking up, but like just causing mayhem. And so the fact that there's like a pattern appearing here where it's the first, it's the cop who originally busted Marcus gets attacked at a warehouse, and then the Dakota Auto Show where he was denied a job gets ransacked
because of his anger management problems.
We don't.
Yeah, they say he's hard to work with.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember why he didn't get the job or not. And
no,
then,
so he had the job and he was fired because they said he was hard to work with.
Oh, okay. I missed that detail. Yeah, and then also the his ex-girlfriend, her new boyfriend, his car gets all smashed up, and so everyone suspects that it's him. And then also in this episode, we learned that Sharon is now also working as a counselor at the community center along with her dad, which is nice. I actually really like that opening there where Virgil walks in the kitchen and all of a sudden like no one's cooking for him.
Yeah.
And he's all upset about it, and Sharon's just like, you always complain about my cooking, so I'm no longer going to cook for you, you ungrateful shit.
I the two of them have such great chemistry in this episode, like in both the opening and the ending. Like, I loved the line where he's like making fun of his sister, and she goes, she starts chasing him. He says, Sharon, there are police around. And said, no, Jerry would convict me.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's like Sharon is kind of an often sidelined character. And so I love that they kind of gave her a moment to be like, no, like I have my own thing I'm doing now. I'm not just going to sit around the house and keep cooking for you because you don't even appreciate my cooking. And I like that she even acknowledges that it was their trip to Ghana that helped inspire her to, you know, kind of shift up her life a little bit.
Yeah, she has like a newfound self-confidence. She's dressing differently.
Yeah. I also love when cartoons like this, which are usually very like episode to episode, pull references to things that have already happened. Because that doesn't, weirdly enough, that doesn't often happen in a lot of these shows.
Right.
They don't often do
because
callbacks.
Of syndication. It makes sense.
Yeah. It totally makes sense. So I know I liked that she got to kind of do her own thing. And so she's serving as Marcus's counselor, trying to help him get his life back on track. And everyone keeps assuming that it's Marcus who's the monster. And we did this also like very obviously telegraph for you that it wasn't going to be him because they made such an effort to make it seem like it was.
Yes, but I also really loved their small hints throughout the episode.
Okay, so what were some of the hints? Because I think I missed some of those.
I think probably the biggest one is when the girlfriend Tamara gets into the car with her new boyfriend. She says, turn the music down, I have sensitive ears.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. I clocked that because we learned that the monster has a sensitivity to sound.
Those big old ears.
Big old ears, yes. Yeah. So, I mean, that was like the biggest indication so far that it was probably going to end up being her. It also helps too that she's the only other new character introduced in the show.
That does also normally help.
But like, I mean, ultimately this episode it's built around a red herring, something you and I both love.
Red herring? What?
And that one episode of Scooby-Doo where it actually was Red Herring that was the villain. But yeah, like I like that they set it up to also offer up a bit of a lesson, right? Which is like sometimes it's not the person you assume, and to continue to like project assumptions onto someone who's trying to get their life back together can also just exacerbate their own problems. And like Virgil learns that because he believes that Marcus is the monster, even though we eventually realize that he's not. And so he goes out to deliberately antagonize this guy who is genuinely struggling with having kind of rage all the time and being really frustrated and wanting to act out and actively trying to not do that. And Virgil is undercutting all the good work he's trying to do just to prove that he's, the monster that he's not actually.
Right. There's a whole song in the Frozen musical about that.
Oh, that's right. There is. I always forget that there are other original songs in the Frozen musical beyond Hygge, which is the greatest of all of them. Hygge. Guys, go listen to Hygge. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's the musical is not worth watching except for that musical number and Monster.
It was fine.
It was fine.
It was totally fine. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a stage adaptation of a Disney musical, so it's never going to be as good as the movie itself. But they do decent little things. Like, did you see Aladdin when he was at the Pantages?
I did. I loved Aladdin.
It was really good. Also, the guy who played the genie was amazing.
Oh yeah, because he was from original cast.
Yeah. But no, the Frozen the musical, it's fine. If you like Frozen, you like Frozen the musical.
That's true.
Plus, it's got Hygge.
Hygge is, if anyone's curious and doesn't know what we're talking about, Hygge is the song that Oaken sings, the guy who runs the hot spring.
Yeah, the sauna and the sauna, yeah. Like the little
the
shop.
Traveling or the trading outpost.
Yeah, but it's a song all about like being comfortable and happy.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's everyone
also,
in the song is naked, just wearing a towel.
Yes, it's brilliantly choreographed. But it's also it's like the most Broadway musical number of the whole thing.
Yeah,
like Frozen's not an inherently Broadway style musical movie. Like it's a little more. It's got like some belters, obviously, like with Let It Go, but it's not like like big and over the top and flashy and fun. And like Hygge in the stage musical like actually has like a full on chorus line, to Cameron's point, of a bunch of people who are naked and they're constantly cover themselves up with towels and palm fronds.
Yeah, it's so good.
It is genius.
Yeah,
absolute
if
genius.
you just want to like dip in and out real quick, it's the opening number of Act 2.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
And it's like a 10-minute song,
but it's so good. It's so good. It's like one of the best Frozen songs. It's not even from one of the movies. It's amazing. Yeah, but if we're gonna like clumsily segue back to Static, Virgil's out there constantly undercutting Marcus's Hygge by being a total dick to him. And eventually we come to realize that it's in fact his ex-girlfriend who is the one transforming. And her motivation is a little lacking. It's a little shaky.
Yeah, she basically is bitter that he broke up with her, and she's doing all of this to pin the crimes on him. Yeah, assumingly to send him back to juvie.
Exactly. Yeah, just to send him back. And so he broke up with her, and then what is it like? He stood her up, and she went looking for him down at the docks.
No, he broke up with her, and then she went to go and apologize down by the docks. Or I just like try and like patch things up.
Okay, yeah. And went at the docks, and she was the one who was exposed to the Big Bang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was another clue when she said after the Big Bang, she said when we were down by the docks.
Oh, that's right. She does say we, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It like this is kind of a middle of the road episode, but I think it does a pretty good job of actually interweaving like a worthwhile message into a pretty decent supervillain plot.
Yeah. I think this is also because there was a moment at the beginning of the episode, because obviously this kind of it follows Static in Africa, but for Richie it follows the opening episode. It follows Gear.
Yes.
Because this is the first time we actually learn his name.
Really?
Yeah, because there's that moment where he Static and Gear go up to the police officer. He's like, Static, you're here. And he looks at Gear and he's like, and even Static is like, yeah, you, what's you? And he's like, I'm Gear. Here's my business card.
Oh, yeah. Well, we get Gear's name in the episode Gear, though, don't we?
I don't think it's said.
Doesn't he say at the very end? Is like, well, what if I was like hardware? It's like, nah. What about?
Oh, he does.
Gear. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did forget that.
Hey guys, I've got it. What if we're the fantastic?
Oh, fuck you. Give me the 4 cut. It's the same movie, but they just they say the whole word.
I do love it because we talked about this a bit last week, but in the shadow of the Snyder Cut officially happening, there's like a push for the Ayer cut. But there's also a push to get the Trank cut.
Yeah.
Of Fantastic Four.
I don't want to fucking touch this.
My favorite thing is that Josh Trank, the director of Fantastic, retweeted someone asking for the Trank cut, and all he said was no Tranks. I was like, yes,
that's great. He gets it.
He gets it. I'm on board, Josh Trank.
We also have there were two little things in this episode. We got one big thing. We got our second Little Romeo reference.
We did, yes.
They're leading up to something big.
Yeah, it's closing in soon here.
But also, I don't know if you noticed this. I love that because I don't think there's enough female background characters. Mm-hmm. They have Frida and Daisy just casually strolling across the background every once in a while.
Together.
And it happened twice in this episode.
It is true. Like, now you always see the two of them like paired together.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of the reason they did that was that they had to prove that they're in fact different characters.
I think so too. Oh, here's a question I had for you.
Yeah.
Because Static is obviously very similar to Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Even the creator has said that multiple times, to the point where he likes to, when he saves civilians, he puts them on roofs.
Yes.
In LA, we have a situation, and I think in most cities, you have a situation where like not a lot of buildings have roof access. So do you think these cities, Spider-Man's New York and Dakota City, they had to like change their rooftop ordinances as a way of like, because like so many people that Static saves just get stuck on a roof because there's no way to get back down?
Yeah.
Do you think they had to like, okay guys, we all have to unlock all of our roofs now because like either heroes need quick access up or civilians need access back down?
Yeah. No, they totally built that into the building codes now of like Gotham, Metropolis, New York, Dakota City, like all of these, just knowing that there's constant superhero battles going on. They have to get easy access to the roofs for evacuation, for cleanup, for maybe, a lackluster police like help moment. Like, oh, we're going to go up and like totally help Superman fight Parasite.
Yeah.
We're just going to stand on this roof.
Because I think we've brought up before, like, how many shrubs you think might have been planted at the start of Batman's career.
Do you think... Ooh, wait, hang on.
The Bush business was booming.
Hang on, because
in Batman's beginnings.
We do love a good Bruce Wayne conspiracy. Do you think that he owns a rooftop gardening service?
Absolutely.
That is going around and building in gardens. So one, people have a place to fall when they're kicked out of blimps, planes, Man-Bat's arms, but also as a way for him to just benefit off of his own crime fighting, which is something we know he actively wants to do all the time.
100%. This is a thing. Because there's that conversation between him and his execs of like, why are we buying out this mom and pop rooftop gardening business?
Yeah.
He's like, I see great future in them.
Yes. I mean, because let's be honest, there is a history of superheroes like exploiting their superheroics for own financial gain. Peter Parker taking pictures of Spider-Man, great example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Iron Man building out damage control, another great example.
Yeah. He's covering up his tracks.
Yeah. I feel like the only one who wouldn't do that is Superman. Because one, he's a good person, and two, I just don't think he would think to do that. Actually, no, that's not true. That's not true at all. He also benefits from it because he uses, in some versions, he uses a story about Superman to get a job at the Daily Planet.
That is true. And I'm going to say you can argue that he uses it for romantic progress.
That's true.
He just happens to always get caught, so he can save her. There's a I might have brought this up before. You never watched the Kroll Show, did you?
I didn't know.
Okay, it was pretty hit or miss, but his hits I think were pretty funny.
Yeah,
he had one sketch about like Middle America's Larry Bird, And how it was teenage Larry Bird.
Okay.
And how he's this very, like, even as a teenager, he was always aching and cracking. And he enters a basketball competition and he's like, you can't do layups. That's showboating. You gotta just nice, easy backboard shots wherever you go, every spot. And I'm just imagining like that character as Superman or as like Clark. I was like, can't do any showboating. That's Pops wouldn't approve of showboating.
Pops would be stirring in his grave, depending on the continuity.
Like that's very middle America.
Yeah, that is a very like middle America sort of mentality of like keeping it
no showing off now.
Not like in California where all we do is show off.
Yeah,
it's coastal elites. Like I like this episode. I thought it was pretty solid. Like, not a great one necessarily, but I think for, delivering something kind of meaningful while also giving us like a pretty decent villain story and like have a little bit of mystery in there is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Too. Like usually the episodes focus more on building out like a sympathetic backstory to the villains, which I'm obviously in favor of, and that's part of what the DCU does so well. But every once in a while, it's nice to like have that little bit of mystery of like, oh wait, who's the actual villain here? What's going on? It's kind of fun.
Yeah, because that was what made a lot of BTOS episodes great, especially like Man-Bat, as you briefly mentioned before.
Oh yeah, another great episode with a red herring.
And the fun fact that was attached to this episode that I'm not sure if you saw was this was Frank Welker's last appearance in the DCAU.
I saw that. Yeah,
Scooby-Doo himself.
Yeah, and it's the only time he didn't voice an animal or creature.
That's right, because he was replaced with D. Bradley Baker after this. The great man himself.
D. Bradley Baker is so amazing. I mean, I mostly know him from Clone Wars, where he voices all of the clones.
Yeah, I've met him a handful of times at Comic-Con.
Oh, really?
He is such a delightful person. Yeah, because he's the voice of all the animals in Avatar.
Oh, that's right.
And so since he's just always at Comic-Con because he is in every show.
He's in all of the things.
He always comes to the Avatar fan panel because he's such a delight.
Yeah.
And that's when I would enter my trivia contest and he would host trivia.
Okay.
And so he would like as we're prepping, he'd like talk to the contestants and we'd kind of hang out a little bit. And yeah, he's a delightful person.
I just have a special love for voice actors or actors who have like a really substantial voice acting career because so much of their career you don't see their face, you don't know what they look like. They kind of get to escape that sort of like
they have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, like they get to still do what they love and have like a really deeply rooted fan base, but like you only would recognize that person if you
are a fan.
Yeah, if you're a fan, if you knew who they were.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, like you and I would be able to spot Phil Omar on the street, but like not a lot of people would. But like because of that, when people are actually genuinely excited to like meet him or like their voice actors, Kevin Conroy, of course, being another great example, like that passion is deeper. And I feel like maybe their hesitance is not quite as there too. They're like, they know they're not just going to get recognized by any random person who's going to know them just because they're famous. They're only going to be recognized because of the work they do.
Did you ever watch the documentary, I Know That Voice?
I didn't actually, and I thank you for reminding me.
It's great.
I need to watch it because that's right up my alley, and I'm embarrassed that I forgot to go and watch it.
There's a bit where it's the voice of Wacko from Animaniacs, where he's at, I think probably Universal. He's at a theme park, and it wasn't Disney, so I'm gonna guess Universal Studios. And he sees a kid next to him wearing an Animaniacs shirt. And he's like, you know what? I was feeling confident that day. I was going to, kind of toot my own horn. And I lean into this kid and I'm like, I'm, the guy on your shirt. That's my voice. And the kid goes, no, it's not. And all of a sudden I had this insane stage fright where like, I've never had to perform under such pressure as this 7-year-old not believing me that I am a character in his show. And so like, he does the voice and the kid's like, nice try. And walks away. I'm like, how demoralizing would that be?
Oh my god, that's like the modern version of the urban legend about Charlie Chaplin coming in third in Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest.
Yes, yeah.
Oh god, man, I love voice actors.
They're so good. They're so
love
like genuine people.
Oh, I just love them so much. I'm trying to think any other like thoughts on this. I love in terms of like references. I did love that at one point when Virgil is trying to distract Marcus after he pisses him off. He's like, "Oh, hey, look, it's J-Lo."
Yeah, and everyone turns around.
Also, what I love about that is that that would still work today.
It would, yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Oh no, this is pretty good though. I don't know. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, let's move on to the next one. I feel like the one that's a little more near and dear to your life.
Showtime. Yeah. So in this episode, this one actually like kind of unfolds. So we'll start at the beginning. So Gear and Static are fighting with Puff and Onyx.
Yep.
What was the name you had for Puff last time?
Poof.
Yeah. I prefer Poof.
Said like Poof and Stomp last week.
Yeah, Poof and Stomp. They're out there fighting Poof and Stomp. And after they capture them, they look up and see this massive billboard for or I guess they see an advertisement for a new reality show starring Static, much to the surprise of Static.
Yes, called Heroes.
Yeah, it's called Heroes, and it's being produced by reality TV producer Bernie Rast.
Oh, what a fucking asshole.
I know. Actually, I meant to look up and see if this is based off of anybody. No, I didn't see any references like a specific producer that it's based off of.
Because he gives me who's the producer from Entourage? Ari Gold.
Ari Gold's the agent, not the producer. Though.
Yeah, sorry. He gives me very similar vibes to Ari Gold.
Yeah, he gives off a bit of that vibe. But yeah, he's this kind of like sleazy producer who, as he puts it, he's produced reality TV shows for everything. Like cops, lawyers, whatever. And when it came to superheroes, he had to find someone. Static assumes they wanted Batman. He's like, no, actually, they wanted Superman. But you're also great, so we'll do you instead.
You were on that list.
Yeah, you were on that list too. And so he basically convinces Static to sign up to be on this show by going to the window and pointing out a bunch of like street kids just like hanging out on the street. It's like, man, look at those kids out in the street. They need someone to inspire them to look up to. And you could be that. Even if you change one of those kids' lives, it would be worth it, wouldn't it? And then it cuts down to the kids and they're all complaining because they were paid to hang out in that street corner for like a few hours.
Yeah, I love that. That was so smart.
It was pretty great. So then Static signs up to have this film crew follow him and Richie around while they go out on patrol. And Richie is just kind of put off by the whole thing because one, the producer wants nothing to do with Richie. He just sees him as the sidekick. But two, the whole thing is absolutely going to Static's head. And they end up facing off against this new character called Starburst. Great name.
Great name. I like his look.
He does have a good look. I particularly love that he flies around on a star.
Yes.
Because he has the same powers as Static, but instead of flying around on a disc, he's just flying around like this big golden star, which is pretty great. But I guess this is like the first time we've had Static go up against another electric powered character, right?
It is, yeah. And he loses.
And he keeps losing,
yes,
too,
the mirror fight, as we continue to dislike in Marvel films, we now praise DC doing.
Okay, you raise a good point. Okay. I mean, I guess
it's because it's not the first villain.
I think that's it. It's not the first villain. We're well into season 3 at this point. It's the first time he comes across another character with his same power set.
Yeah.
Versus, superhero movies, which do that right from the beginning.
Right. Yeah. We don't
single time.
We love seeing Spider-Man fight Venom because Venom's never the first villain that he fights.
Yeah. Also, do we actually like seeing Spider-Man fight Venom?
I do.
In the movies, it only happened once, and it wasn't very good. And it will probably end up happening again because of contract reasons.
Hell yeah.
But no, I like Starburst's look. I like that his powers are tech-based. And eventually, Richie starts to suspect that maybe the reason that Starburst is able to keep beating Static is that he's actually drawing on Static's own powers.
Yeah, so I kind of forgot the ending of this episode. And for a while, I thought that he kind of is, but I thought that Starburst was a creation by the studio and just didn't tell Static.
Yeah, like they're there's also that mystery, kind of like in the last episode of, oh wait, who is Starburst? Like, where did he come from? And eventually we figure out that it's the really disgruntled assistant of
who's just stealing the money to make
Bernie
his screenplay.
Yeah, like he just like he the very beginning he brings like this definitely plays up on the assistant tropes. And I will say that luckily as an entertainment assistant, I have never gotten shit for bringing someone the wrong kind of coffee.
Good.
But I've had bosses who are better than that. But I will also say that when I was a PA, doing coffee runs was the single most stressful part of the job.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because it would be like every morning where everyone's trying to get things set up and be like, okay, like, Chris, here's a dozen coffee orders. Go to the nearest coffee shop and order. And like, as someone who has like just a decent amount of social anxiety, and I have what I refer to as WASP guilt, which is if you exist, you're a burden on someone. The idea of being the one person in line who like holds everything up because I'm ordering a dozen coffees just like gave me endless amounts of anxiety.
Oh my God, yeah. Can you not call that in early?
I mean, you can sometimes you could call it in early, but so it's the knowledge that like I'm gonna like jam up the line when I go. Yeah. 2, it's making sure I get everyone's order right because I don't drink coffee, but I know people are very particular with their coffee orders. And as a non-coffee drinker, it's incredibly stressful trying to explain like, oh, I need like a soy chai latte with this kind of milk because I don't know what any of that shit means.
Same. I did love that was kind of the last button that the villain gets to say in this episode.
Oh like, yeah,
I filled it with whole milk every time. Whole milk.
You wanted soy and I didn't do it. Like, but it would be like genuinely stressful. Like it got to the point where I started looking up what coffee, like what the different kinds of coffee was. So I knew how to order it properly. Like I now know what like an Americano is versus a latte versus like a mocha because I needed to know what these things were.
That's dedication to the job right there.
For my job because it just gave you so much stress. But yeah, this poor disgruntled assistant just wants to have his screenplay read by this producer. Like part of me wants to criticize the writers of this show for having an aspiring screenwriter work for a reality TV producer who probably won't be able to help get a shit made. But also at the same time, I know since I work in reality TV, I know a lot of people who
I feel like this is your episode.
I know a lot of people who want to be in scripted who like part of their entry point is like whatever entry point you find. So even if it's unscripted, you do it anyways.
Yeah.
So that part definitely rang true. The fact that the boss couldn't remember his assistant's name, a little bit of a cliche, but I swear to God, I've actually seen that. Again, never happened to me.
Well, you have an easy name.
It helps that I have an easy name, and it also just helps like I legitimately have only ever had good bosses, like legit like awesome bosses. I'm not just saying that because it's a public forum. I would say this in private and in public. It is true. I genuinely have liked all of my bosses, which helps a lot. But like these things do exist. Like I definitely know agents or like executives who don't remember people's names all the time. But like I was with you on this too. I was thinking that maybe that this guy was going to have been a creation of the producer, like to like make the show successful. That the producer
to heighten the drama.
Yeah, to heighten the drama was going to come up with a villain, and I really wanted that to be the case. And in the end, it was just like this assistant was really disgruntled, and their explanation of how he built this sort of stuff was that he was a like brilliant physics student who like caught the entertainment bug, which I was a little which I felt seen. I felt called out being a former engineer.
Former mechanical engineer
who left to go into entertainment. But I hated that it was just that he was pissed off and wanted revenge because it makes him...
No. That wasn't his motive. His motive was he was stealing money to fund his screenplay because his boss would never read it.
Because his boss would never read it. Like, but
that's fucking great motive in Hollywood.
I really wanted this to be a call out on the abuse of power. Like I wanted this to be a situation where the producer was holding leverage over his assistant, being like, hey, like, I know you want me to read your screenplay, but you know what, I can only really help you if you help me. And you know what would really help me is if you were to dress up in this costume and go and fight a superhero for the benefit of my show.
Yes.
Because that is the sort of like fucked up thing that's rooted in reality, like that actually happens.
Yeah, and I do see that being like the other side of the story. I like this episode a lot, but if I were to rewrite it, that is how I would do it.
Yeah,
is you
same.
have the camera crew following Static, but Static is so good that he's able to like take out all his villains within minutes. He's like, we can't make a 20-minute show out of a 2-minute fight. Static, you got to stretch these out.
Yeah.
He's like, well, if I do that, then it's going to cause, like collateral damage, and we can't do that. Producers kind of shove like, no, the studio will cover that. Don't worry about that. And so just to get, like a good episode out, the studio makes their own villain for Static to fight, not realizing that Static doesn't know that. And then you can have some, it could be like a Mysterio kind of villain where it's all kind of special effects.
Yeah, I mean, so the way this works here is that the sort of like portable microphone camera transmitter setup that Static's wearing around is basically funneling his powers and sending it to Starburst's suit. Like, totally plausible for superhero cartoon physics. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think it would have been way more interesting is if I wanted the assistant to be a victim, not a
so
perpetrator.
For a second, I felt bad because I also forgot about the assistant character. Oh, when they said it was the...
You're
the
one
mic,
of them, Cameron.
I was one of them. When
We're
they said it was the
people too.
mic pack, I'm like, really? It's the disgruntled sound guy that's the villain of this episode?
Yeah, they're definitely setting him up to be a like the red herring of the whole thing. But yeah, like I wanted to feel bad for the assistant. I wanted him to feel like he had no choice but to go along with the same plan because, like, again, we don't live in a world with actual superheroes and villains, but things of that nature happen all the time.
I think we have villains.
Okay, we have villains. We have villains. We have real life
I'm
Lex
talking
Luthor.
to one right now.
Yes, I'm a monster. But yeah, I wanted it to acknowledge, like, not only just like the cliche tropes of like a shitty boss treating their assistant poorly, but also like the absolute like abuse of power and manipulation that happens. Like, that is an actual real thing. Like, you do hear stories about that, and kind of in combination of like the Me Too movement and the Pay Up Hollywood movement is to acknowledge that like there's a lot of times when assistants or like low level execs are basically like forced into being enablers to like more powerful, terrible people. And I wanted them to acknowledge that here.
Next time.
Yeah, they'll get around to it next time. But no, I mean, this is pretty fun. And I also like too that it forced Virgil to have to like get past his own kind of pigheadedness in regards to Richie. Like, Richie kind of calls him out like, hey, like, you're more concerned about the show than you are about actually being good at being a hero.
I also really enjoy Richie's story arc through this season so far, because, like with a lot of these heroes, we see kind of the first episode or the first maybe 2 episodes is them like trying to get their footing. And then after that, kind of everyone just like knows who they are. They're accepted or villainized, either one or the other. But with Richie, like you have all these pre-established heroes and villains already. And now you have someone new coming in, and it makes sense of everyone's being like, who are you? Oh, you're the sidekick. He's kind of pushing him aside, and he has to like pave his path of like, no, I'm just as much of a hero as Static is.
Yeah, he has to like distinguish himself.
Yeah.
Instead of just being sidelined all the time.
You don't usually see that story. Even with like the Robins, all the Robins are just, they're not there, and then they're suddenly there and everyone knows it.
Yeah. Well, and I like that this show acknowledges the sidekick element. Most situations like this, a new hero is introduced as a sidekick. Robin, Batgirl, obviously being like the classic examples. But here, like, they are actual legitimate partners. Just one of them, and they've always been partners. It's just that one of them wasn't on the front lines until recently. Yeah,
and I think that was one of the interesting things, because like Static says he's going to be like a solo hero again. He's like, but you were never a solo hero. You always had gear in your ear.
Yeah. He just went by Ear before that.
Yeah. Much lamer superhero name.
Yeah.
Call me Ear.
A terrible name. Yeah. No, I like that Richie stands up for himself too.
Yeah.
And he sometimes, like in this episode, he has to stand up to his own friend, which is tough. But it's a real thing that has to happen, and he's assertive, and he doesn't just get pushed to the side. I like Richie. I just like him. He's just a
what's
good guy.
There are all kinds of courage, said Dumbledore, smiling. It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to our enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends. And I therefore award 10 points to Mr. Neville Longbottom.
Wasn't it 5?
That's 10. I'm reading it word for word.
I'm pretty sure it was 5, though.
Really, reading the quote.
But I think that quote is wrong. Are you reading it off of the actual ebook, or are you reading it off of a quote someone posted online?
I'm reading it from Schmoop.
I'm pretty sure
it's the book, not the movie.
Okay, so in the movie, I know he says 5. I don't know.
What are you reading the quote, Chris? You are pulling a fake news bullshit on a fact.
I don't know if that quote is right, though. Also, I'm easily susceptible. Yeah, no, this is pretty solid. Any other thoughts on Showtime?
No, I think that's there's like a very small Pinky in the Brain reference in the middle, which I appreciate.
Yes, I do. Anytime you can throw in a Pinky in the Brain reference, I'm obviously there for it.
But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the episode.
Nice. Okay, so really nothing in terms of notes from friends this week. So we're gonna do the return of our new segment, Cameron's Question Corner.
Cam's questions.
Cameron,
I've got a question for you.
What is your question of the week?
I had a very random question that I thought of throughout this week. Mm-hmm. That is, if you were dealing with a Superman or Hercules or any sort of child god situation, at what age do you find it appropriate to tell them they are said god?
Ooh, okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, my immediate thought is a clarification question to your question, which is: are we running with the version that we often see, which is that the powers aren't going to really start manifesting until puberty? So I think Hercules always has his powers, right? Like he's always strong.
He was
and
born
fast.
with super strength. Yes. If we'll go with movie Hercules to make it simpler.
Okay, because I
think
Disney's
Hercules.
Because I think some versions of Superman, he has mild versions of his powers. Even in Superman the movie, he lifts up the truck when he's a baby, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But usually they kind of come in full tilt when he's a teenager. So we're running with the idea that this kid, right from when he's born, has powers.
Well, we'll do two ideas of it. We'll do that idea, and then we'll do your kid doesn't have powers. He's just kind of an immortal being.
Okay. So I guess if the kid had powers, I don't know. So this is the point where you tell him that he's different, right? That he's comes from space, or
yeah, you have that awkward, the kid's like, I'm going through puberty and it's a little different. My body's going through changes, but it's pretty different from everyone else. Mm-hmm. And every adult character's like, no, trust me, I know about puberty. We all go through it the same way.
I guess either way, I would probably tell them right around 12.
Okay, so right in the midst of the middle school preteen angst and anguish, you're going to put this burden on them.
Okay,
I think not only are you in the worst time of your life right now, about to go through the shittiest changes, you're also responsible for everyone's life around you, and you have to be careful constantly.
Well, here's the thing: is I always run with the theory of it's better to know than to not. Mm-hmm. So if I would tell the kid around 11, 12, so that when they are that's basically, I feel like at the age when you are starting to develop some sense of self-awareness. Mm-hmm. And I feel like at that point you have enough maturity and world context to start to grasp the implications of being an alien, or having being a demigod or something. Because if you wait too long, then you run the risk of your kid not exhibiting self-control.
Right.
Which they would have to do. Now, you also run the risk of it just going straight to their head.
Yeah, so my answer would be is you tell them as young as possible.
Oh, okay.
Because then it's just normal. Because then there's no change in their life. They're not A and then suddenly they're B.
It's like, okay, like, but what is young as possible? Like, are you holding your baby going, who's my little alien?
Yeah, you tell them at like 2 or 3 once they can comprehend it. Because the thing is, you tell them like it's the family secret, don't tell anybody, but you know they're going to tell people in kindergarten. But in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, teachers don't care about what you say. It's like, oh, that's cute. Jimmy thinks he's an alien. Ha ha ha.
He thinks he's a superhero.
Let's get back to our tests now, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then by the time that they like understand, like once they start to comprehend they're different, it's so normal to them already.
Mm-hmm.
Because then like once the powers come on, it's almost like if you tell them it when they're a baby, you have that phase where they believe it, and then you start to have that phase where they don't believe it. It's kind of the Santa situation. But then just around that Santa situation, the powers do finally come in. And like, oh shit, my parents were right this whole time. They weren't just fucking with me. And then they're like, oh well shit, now I have to like actually, like be smart about this.
You're right. That is a better way to go.
Yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You would make a much better parent than I would.
So now the part 2 to that question, you don't have powers. You're just an immortal being. When do you tell your kid?
Like when do you tell your kid they can't die?
Yes.
Wait, okay, do they age normally?
We'll say they
Normally-ish?
age up to like full puberty. So they're kind of perpetually at like 25.
Okay, so kind of like a Superman situation. We're like, okay, so like they're gonna keep getting older until they like kind of hit like their peak around like late 20s, early 30s, and then they're just gonna kind of like stay that way for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
I would at like 30.
Okay, that's fair.
Because here's the problem: is you like teenagers already have like a problematic lack of fear.
Exactly.
Like they already like teenagers already tend to think they're immortal. And the last thing you want to do is actually tell a teenager that they are in fact immortal, because then they're like, oh, well, there's no consequences to my actions whatsoever.
Exactly.
And that kid would become a raging a-hole.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute asshole.
Well, because then my thought is like, if you tell them while they're in college, at college age, they're like, I can drink as much as I want.
Yeah. I would wait until 30.
Never have to worry about alcohol poisoning. Okay,
Yeah.
but so then you have the unfortunate situation. By the time you're 30, most people find like a pretty long-term relationship. Not us, but most people.
No.
You now have to tell them, if they're already married, it makes it worse. You now have to tell them that you will forever outlive your significant other.
Okay, if I knew my kid was immortal and they were about to get engaged, I would say it then.
Okay.
Or ooh. See now, God damn it, Cameron. Because now you bring up a good point, because then it's like no matter when you say it at that point, it just makes things worse. That's right. I was looking at it from like my own egocentric perspective of being 30 and single, and like if I were told today I was immortal, I'd be like, oh, great.
Yeah.
But I actually be like, wait, can I get in better shape first?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure your body can still change.
But yeah, that would be like there's no good point to like tell your kid that they're gonna outlive whoever.
Everyone.
Wait, so when would you do it?
I have no idea. Maybe like 45. 45,
you would wait long.
Yeah, because then they're past the point where like if you look the same, because we're generic looking white guys.
Yes.
We're gonna look this way until we're 50.
Yeah.
And like I think if you not 50, but we're gonna look this way for a while.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of ride it out where it's just kind of like a compliment for a couple years of like, wow,
you just look so good.
Yeah, you're 42. You look great.
Wow. I wouldn't think you were like a day over 27.
And then it's once that becomes like questionable of like, wait, you're 50 and
How?
you like, are you, yeah, like once the, like it goes from being a compliment to kind of a question, you have to find that perfect day of like, oh, hey son, by the way, you're going to look like this forever.
For the rest
You're immortal.
But what if now?
And then I'd hang up the phone.
Never talk to them again. Do you have a backup plan in place in the event that you die before you get a chance to tell your kid?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you have it like written into their will, like in your will, like someone has to tell them this?
I would hide clues around the house. I'd make it like a full-on scavenger hunt.
A full-on scavenger hunt where at the end the person realizes that they're immortal.
Yes, I'll attach like a $20 bill to it.
Is like part of the scavenger hunt to basically like have them try and like fetch a clue out of a furnace or something, just like to prove the point.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yes.
And make your kid go through the horrible emotional trauma of like trying to get the last piece of their dead parent that they can still like connect with emotionally, but to do so they have to seemingly kill themselves to make it happen.
Chris, here's this kind of depressing thing that I think I brought up before. In all of these like oh fuck, what was the rom-com where Gerard Butler dies at the beginning and he like left?
P.S. I Love You?
What?
P.S. I Love You?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So those stories where it's like the significant other or the dead parent leaves behind this scavenger hunt for your kid to find, or for your other person to find, is, as someone who lost a close person when I was very young, you always know that's not going to happen. Of like you see people that have like dead parents leave videos for like their 16th birthday. Like, I'm sorry I can't be there.
Yeah.
It's like, in reality, that's not a thing. But in the back of your head on every like celebration, they're like, what if dad did leave a present for me somewhere? And like, I'm not allowed to get it until I'm 25. I'm not allowed to get it until I'm 30. Not allowed to get it until I'm married. Like it's always in the back of your head.
You just kind of hope.
Yeah. That big what if.
Yeah, but I guess that makes sense. The thing is, in this situation, like if you're trying to prove to your kid that they're immortal, it's like you leave them a note on like a Mission Impossible style exploding tape.
Yeah. I do love the idea of leaving it in a fireplace. And like your son and their significant other comes home like after your death, and the other person's like, why is the fireplace always on? He's like, oh, dad was always cold. He never let us turn it off.
Yeah.
And then like you finally turn it off and you see one of the hot coals has like a message on it.
You have to pick it up and brush it off. Like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Also, worth acknowledging that you and I definitely both approach this with like the assumption that we're dealing with like a male kid. Partly because
we're doing it from the perspective of us.
Yeah, like I would think about how I would be affected by it. Like I would imagine that like girls go through a very, very different, let's be honest, like way more like mature growth cycle than boys, and are probably far less susceptible to like the insane bouts of ego. And
Yeah.
that's only what we're really factoring in here. It's like, how would a stupid teenage hormonal boy with a massive ego deal with this situation?
Mm-hmm. That's because every person that I've talked to has been a guy about this. I would love to get a woman's perspective on when you would tell your daughter she's either has superpowers or she's immortal.
Immortal, yeah. Because let's be honest, essentially what we're doing is we're basically just trying to like hedge our bets to have our child come out with like the least amount of toxic masculinity as a result of learning that they're all powerful. That's ultimately what this was an exercise in. And the answer is, no matter what you do, that kid will probably end up being an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, fun times. All right. Well, shall we move along to some bat plugs here?
Yeah. What have you been watching, listening, reading?
Mine are a little more on the serious side, so I'll let you go first with some more maybe lighthearted stuff.
Okay. So all the new stuff on HBO Max is there. I did watch. One of the cool things is they have all of Turner Classic Movies on there, and so I did watch An American in Paris for the first time.
Oh, I
Kelly.
Started watching that a few years ago. I didn't finish it. How is it?
It's great. it's cool watching those old musicals because like of all the movies, La La Land starts to make more sense.
Yeah, it does.
But I want to plug kind of that section, but also I've been listening to a new book that I want to plug really quick. I've plugged her other book before, Six of Crows, which was an amazing kind of heist book. But Leah Bardugo is the author. She has another book called Ninth House, which I think she wrote before this, the other one. But it's kind of it's in a world where this girl goes to Yale, and all of the what are the houses? What do they call it in Social Network? Like Skull and Bone Society is a
fraternity?
I guess, yeah, I guess we'll just call it a fraternity.
Yeah, like yeah.
All of them are actually covers for basically like magic houses.
Oh, interesting.
And so she is brought in. There's one house that kind of governs all the other houses called Leafy. And they're kind of like the magic police to make sure that none of the houses go too crazy.
Oh.
And so she is brought in not realizing that she has powers to kind of help police all of these crazy frat guys. And there's like a whole mystery aspect around it.
Yeah.
Where like early in the book, a girl dies and she's trying to figure out like who did it, how did she die? And it's cool. I'm really liking it so far.
That's a really clever concept for a story.
Yeah. Maybe like 5 chapters in so far.
Oh, nice.
What about you? What are your plugs this week?
So I haven't really been watching anything too new necessarily. I'm just kind of like keeping up with the stuff I've been keeping up with. So, but I did want to point out some, I guess we'll call them like resources. So in light of the murder of George Floyd and everything that's going on with that and all the protests that are happening, like a lot of people are very reasonably so and valuably so kind of like speaking up to try and make a difference. And it can be confusing to figure out how to do that. What's a meaningful way to try and help, especially while we're in lockdown. And so I've been trying to like find some places to go, and there's a great article that I'll put down in the show notes from Medium, and it's 75 things white people can do for racial justice. And I was reading through it, and there's a lot of really good stuff on there. So it has from a list of books and podcasts and movies and different articles to kind of help kind of spread awareness or to look at things from a different cultural POV. We're always like, huge advocates for representation. I mean, we're talking Static Shock right now. It's critically important. It has that on there. It has different anti-white supremacy groups you can donate to listed on there. It's got a list of Black businesses you can support. And then just other terms of like broad learning you can do. So like learning more about mandatory minimum sentencing and the effects that have and where to take action. So really valuable article, different small ways you can kind of make yourself a little more informed or to make a difference. And then in terms of kind of more like hands-on things, there's a couple petitions that I'll put down in the show notes, which are basically change.org petitions to bring full charges against the officers who killed George Floyd. Those are on there. And then also you can donate to a worthy organization, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, which basically gathers up money to help post bail for people who are incarcerated. And they also do work to help immigrants facing deportation. So look, very, very small places to start. Obviously, there's more meaningful change you can do, but I just want to put something out there just to kind of help point people in direction, because I know that can be really confusing. And I know you posted some good stuff on your Instagram story too. So I'll kind of put some resources out there for different perspectives you can look at or places you can go to try and help make a change. So because it's important and it's kind of intense and a little more on the serious side for us. We're normally just talking bullshit all the time, but it seemed a worthy use of the bat plug situation.
Yeah, it's important right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, those will all be down in the show notes, and I'll put them up on probably Instagram and Twitter as well, so people can find those resources. But yeah, it's valuable. So, but that being said, I think we're ready to land this bird.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, you can find us at Timm Talk Pod. Crash the Batwing. Well, luckily, Bruce Wayne has planted a bunch of really huge bonsai trees throughout Gotham City for these situations where you must make an emergency Batwing landing.
Mm-hmm.
But you can find us at Tin Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail. You can find me at Lordifer on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes. And if you want to see my art, which I said I'd have a new piece last week, I did not. I'll probably have it this week, maybe sometime, hopefully. You can find that at Camera.Dexter. And if you want to see my face, you can find that at CamDexter_adventures.
Boom, boom, boom. All right. And we'll be back again next week. More Static Shock. I'm pretty sure, if I'm looking at the episode list right here, we get our Little Romeo episode.
Next week. Shit.
Or at least I highly suspect the episode called Romeo in the Mix is the Little Romeo cameo episode.
No, it's the one where he tries out for Romeo and Juliet.
He tries out for the school play.
Yes. But he has to go against Little Romeo for the lead.
Oh, he would lose.
He would.
He's going to lose. Look, Virgil, you're charming, but you're no Little Romeo.
You're no Little Romeo, especially not early 2000s Little Romeo.
Oh, hell no. Be prepared to be disappointed. But yeah, we'll be back next week with more Static Shock. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Superhero Static Shock.
Whoop, whoop.
Superhero Static Shock.